in today's class, I am going to continue with the solution. Left out part is there, no? There is a small topic which was pending. We thought it will be according to the reduced portion, but now you know that board has decided to keep every portion, each and every topic is there. So that last part which is pending, let me continue with that. It's a small topic and it is easy also. Just listen properly, okay? So that is about abnormal molar mass. We calculate molar mass using colligative property. I hope you all remember, no? 4 colligative properties were there, and I told you it's very important from your exam point of view. Out of that 4, one question will be asked from there. Tell me what are the 4 colligative properties you have studied and what are the formulas of that. Just recall and tell me. I told you also in the morning, just go through those topics so that when I continue from here, at least you will know that what is there and what I'm talking about. Otherwise, you'll be clueless, you'll be blank, and you will not be able to follow. Yes, we have done 4 colligative property. Elevation in boiling point, good. Depression in freezing point, depression in freezing point. Yes, very good, correct. Then we have relative lowering of vapor pressure and osmotic pressure. Yes, now what are the formulas of that? Very good, very good. Very good that you are replying. Yes. So if you remember, relative lowering of vapor pressure, it was delta P divided by P1 naught, correct? Is equal to, I'll just write the formulas, okay, because I want to convey something using this. So W2 into M1, this is how the formula was, okay, divided by M2 into W1. This was for the first one, that is relative lowering of vapor pressure. Here is the formula. Then next one what we had was elevation in boiling point. Elevation in boiling point, I'll just write EBP, okay. Elevation in boiling point formula, what was that? Delta TB is equal to KB into 1000, no? KB into 1000 into W2 divided by M2 into W1. And then you had depression in freezing point. Depression in freezing point was delta TF. Delta TF is equal to KF into 1000 into W2 divided by M2 into W1. And the last one was osmotic pressure. The last one which we have covered was osmotic pressure. That could be written as pi. Pi is equal to W2 RT divided by M2 into V. Correct? These are the different colligative properties which you have studied. Now, if you see students, these colligative property, there is one thing common in them. If you see properly, these colligative properties are there, no? They are inversely related to molar mass of the solute, correct, no? You see everywhere, relative lowering of vapor pressure divided by M2 is there, no? Here, even here you see elevation in boiling point delta TB is equal to then KB divided by M2, no? That means it is inversely related to molar mass of the solute. Even see here, next one also, depression in freezing point, inversely related to molar mass of the solute. That means if you change the this thing colligative property of this, okay, if the value of the colligative property changes, it will affect the molar mass. Agree with that? This point you need to keep in mind, okay? Later I'll be asking you once again. Now, since I've written this formula, I wanted to just tell you what is the relationship between this. All of these colligative property, all the 4 colligative property, you can exactly see that they are inversely related to their molar mass. So that means if you change the colligative property, it will affect the molar mass of the solute. Okay, so I'm just writing here colligative property is inversely related to the molar mass. Okay. Now here, what do you mean by abnormal molar mass? Because that is our today's topic. Abnormal molar mass. Now, whatever molar mass calculation we have done, no? When you calculate this molar mass, if your experimental value comes out to be equal to your theoretical value, theoretically also we will be having that molar mass of that solute, no? Now imagine if you are calculating the molar mass of the solute by using elevation in boiling point. So you will be knowing what is the molar mass of the glucose, and then through experiment you are trying to find out what exactly will be the molar mass. So if your molar mass, theoretical and experimental, both comes out to be same, that is the normal molar mass. But imagine when you do the experiment for elevation in boiling point, suppose your solute gives you either higher value or lower value than compared to the theoretical value. Okay, suppose if your experimental value comes out to be either higher or it comes out to be lower then compared to whatever you are calculating theoretically, because you will be having exact value of that particular solute. But when you do experimentally, it is giving you different value. Either it is giving you higher value or if it is giving you lower value then compared to the original one, then that is called as abnormal molar mass. Okay, so abnormal molar mass is when the molar mass determined by the colligative property, this is experimentally, okay, found to be either lower or higher than the expected normal molar mass. Okay, then we call it as abnormal molar mass. You just make a note of this, then I will proceed. Yes, so what I told you here is if your molar mass value comes out to be either higher or lower than the expected one, means from the theoretically if it is getting varied, it is showing you diversion from that, then that will be your abnormal molar mass. Now when are you going to get the answer equal to whatever we are expecting? So that means the solute which you are adding, okay, that behaves in a different way. There are different kinds of solute. Okay, when you add them into the solution, they behave in a different way. So based on that, we have categorized them into two. Okay, one is called as a non-electrolyte. Okay, one is called as non-electrolyte and the other one is called as electrolytes. Okay, this you will be knowing. No, what are non-electrolytes? This we have done last year also. In equilibrium also I have discussed about this. What are non-electrolyte, students? Non-electrolytes are those which does not dissociate. No, when you put them in the solution, they does not break down into their ions and they don't conduct electricity, because if they are not breaking down into ions, they will not go towards any respective electrode, so there is no possibility that they will conduct electricity. Okay, so non-electrolytes are those compound. Example, if you remember, non-electrolyte example is glucose. Glucose we are having, then we have urea, okay, then alcohol. All of these are behaving as non-electrolyte because when you put them into the water, they do not dissociate. Okay, they don't dissociate into their ions. They stay as that individual molecule. They stay as it is in the solution. Okay, so if they stay as it is and if there is no charges developed, then they behave as non-electrolyte. Now coming to electrolytes, electrolytes are of different categories. Okay, we have electrolytes in the form of acid, we have them in the form of base, we have them in the form of salts. There are different categories. Okay, electrolytes are the one which when you add them into the water, they dissociate. Okay, they dissociate in the form of their ions. Okay, they will dissociate in the form of their ions. Okay, so now if they dissociate, example for them are, see, now acids are the one which can dissociate, then we have bases which are the one which will dissociate, and then we have the salts. Okay, so if you take acid example, now if I take HCl, that will dissociate no into H plus and then Cl minus ion. Bases we have NaOH. NaOH can dissociate into Na plus and then OH minus ion. Salts are there like NaCl salt, if you take, they will dissociate into Na plus and then Cl minus ion. So if you take these electrolytes, if they dissociate, you can see here the number of ions which they are going to produce, that also become larger, no? If I take one HCl, okay, initially it was one HCl molecule. If you put them into the water, they will come out in the form of two ions. And what do you mean by colligative property, students? What do you mean by colligative property? Colligative property is those property which fill that, which depends on correct. No, it depends on the number of the solute particles. Yes, very good, correct. It depends on the number of solute particle. Now, if you take acid, when you dissolve them into the water, what happens to the number of solute particle here? That number of solute particle will increase. Agree with me? If you have taken one HCl molecule, when you add them into the water, you are getting one H plus ion and then one Cl minus ion. So will you get the same answer for the colligative property, the answer will change, correct? No, because the number of particles what you are going to get will become 2 now. Instead of 1, it will be 2. So then it will give you a different answer. Okay. So then we call them as abnormal molar mass. If you're going to calculate the molar mass of that, it will give you some other answer than compared to the expected one. You will be doing calculation for only one HCl molecule. But actually in reality, in the experiment, what is it is happening is, it is giving you one H plus ion and one Cl minus ion. So two particles are formed here. So actually we were doing calculation only for one, but experimentally it is getting dissociated into two. So your value which is there, okay, that value will change, okay. And it will remain same only in the case of non-electrolyte like glucose, urea, if you take alcohol, because they don't dissociate in the water. So if your molar mass calculation in the experimental, okay, when you're doing, that value comes out to be same in the theoretical case, because here they don't dissociate. But in the case of electrolytes, when you're doing, okay, in this case you will not get the same answer, because these substances which are there, they have tendency to dissociate in the water. Okay, so now based on that, whether they will dissociate or they will associate, sometimes even they undergo association. So depending on that, you have to study. Shall I proceed? This much is clear what I said? Clear, no, what I said? Abnormal molar mass is which gives you a different value than compared to the original one. Means the theoretical one, compared to that, your experimental value comes out to be totally different. That happens because of different types of solutes are there. If you're taking a non-electrolyte, your answers will come same. Okay, your observed value is there. No, that will be equal to your theoretical value, because here compound doesn't dissociate. Neither they undergo association. They stay as it is. The number remains same. The number remains same, so your answer also will remain same. But here the problem is, in the case of electrolyte, some of the electrolyte undergo association and some of the electrolyte undergo dissociation. Then the values will differ. Okay, so we will start based on that. And it differs because of following. This also I'll just brief you through. They have in the Raoult's law, what assumption they have done for colligative property is that the solution should be a dilute solution, only then they will obey Raoult's law. And one more thing they have mentioned, okay, in their assumption, that the solute particle which is there, they should neither undergo dissociation nor they should undergo association. Okay, if they don't undergo association, dissociation, then you will get the correct answer for the molar mass. But now our electrolytes are not like that, no? Electrolytes, they undergo dissociation, so this assumption doesn't get valued. So when they are not valid, your observed values are there, no, that will come different than the calculated value of colligative property. Okay, so that is our abnormal molar mass. So I said it happens because of two reasons. One, because of the substance undergoes association. Okay, one reason, if they undergo association, if there is association. Another one I'll write on this side, if there is dissociation of the solute. Okay, if there is association of the solute and if there is dissociation of the solute, then it will happen. See, now if there is association, example, I will take acetic acid and explain to you. Okay, when acetic acid is added into the benzene, okay, acetic acid is CH3COH. When you add this acetic acid in benzene as a solvent, so that time, you know, acetic acid is polar or non-polar molecule, students? Can you tell me whether it is polar or non-polar? Is there a charge separation in acetic acid? I just want to know that. Is there a charge separation in acetic acid? Yes, there is, no? Yeah. And how is it? See, CH3 molecule, if I take CH3, it has double bond oxygen, and the other side you are having OH. Okay, you know there is electronegative oxygen present. Whenever you have any electronegative atom present, you know that electronegativity will be shifted towards them. The electron density will be shifted towards them. So this oxygen will have partial negative charge on them. Agree with that, correct? No? And then this hydrogen, if you take, this hydrogen will have partial positive charge, because this oxygen is partially negatively charged. Okay, now when you add into the benzene by nature, it is a non-polar solvent. Okay, it's a non-polar solvent because it is having only carbon hydrogen and carbon hydrogen, where the electronegativity difference much is not there, so they are non-polar. But acetic acid is a polar molecule, so if you dissolve in benzene, they don't react with benzene. Okay, They don't get soluble in benzene. Instead, what happens is these acetic acid molecule is there, no, they start forming bond among themselves. Okay, so here I'll take another molecule on the other side, CH3 molecule. See, CH3 molecule here, then C here, and then OH I am taking on the other side, and this double bond O I am putting on this side. Because when these acetic acid and acetic acid molecule come together, due to their charge separation, even in this molecule I'll do that, this has partial negative charge and this hydrogen will have partial positive charge. See, now here one bonding is possible. This hydrogen can bind with this oxygen of another acetic acid molecule, and this hydrogen of the molecule, the first molecule, can bind with the oxygen of another molecule. So between them, there is intermolecular, which bonding? It is intermolecular. There is intermolecular hydrogen bonding taking place. Okay. There is intermolecular hydrogen bonding happening. You can see there is a bonding between hydrogen and oxygen. And whenever there is bonding of hydrogen with the most electronegative atom, like fluorine, oxygen, and nitrogen, every time I've told this, fluorine, oxygen, and nitrogen, then that bonding is intermolecular hydrogen bonding. So due to hydrogen bonding, this whole compound is there, no? Once they bind with another molecule, this whole will behave as one solute. Okay. So this whole thing will behave, that will come here. Okay. So two molecules of acetic acid will combine together and it will behave as one. So two has got converted to one now. So what will happen to the colligative property now here? If there is association, what do you think will happen to the colligative property? Colligative property totally depends on the number of the solute particle. What happened to the number of solute particle? Imagine if I had 100 acetic acid molecule, if they convert like this, if they start binding with one another, what will happen to the number of the molecules which I'm going to get on this side? It will get reduced, no? Because two are combining in the form of pairs. Okay, 50 I had, 100 I had, 100 molecules were there. Yeah, if they start combining with one another like this, okay, this is forming a dimer actually. Okay, here they are giving rise to a dimer. They are combining in the form of pairs due to intermolecular hydrogen bonding. So that 100 molecule will get converted to 50. So that means what will happen to the colligative property value which I'm going to get if there is association? If there is association, what will happen to the colligative property value? That value of colligative property will decrease. No, as you are able to see the number, I said initially we had 100 molecules. So we will be doing theoretically the calculation for 100 molecules. But now in the solution, they are combining with one another. So what happens to the number of solute particles? They will get reduced to 50. So if the number reduces to 50, the colligative property value also will decrease. Okay, now if the number decreases, colligative property value also will decrease. Now what will happen to the molar mass that you are able to see actually? Initially, we had molar mass of one acetic acid molecule, but when they are combining together, you will get the value for two acetic acid molecule. So what will happen to the molar mass, students? If the colligative property decreases, the molar mass will increase. And that I told you in the beginning also. Colligative property is inversely proportional to the molar mass. Colligative property value is inversely proportional to the molar mass. So if your colligative property value is decreasing, since they are inversely related, your molar mass value will increase. Okay. So therefore, I can say if colligative property value decreases, the molar mass of that particular solute will increase because there is association. Did you follow this point what I said? When there is association of the molecules taking place, like in case of acetic acid, we saw that initially there were 100 molecules, but when they were dissolved in the benzene, which is a non-polar solvent, these acetic acid being polar, they try to combine with the polar molecules, so they give rise to a dimer. So when they form these pairs, that 100 molecule will get reduced to 50, no? So when the number decreases, colligative property is totally depending on number. So if the number decreases, colligative property value also will decrease. So if that decreases, we know colligative property is inversely related to molar mass. So molar mass value will increase. Is it clear what I said? Yes? We'll go for dissociation. Yeah, we'll go for dissociation, and later I'll be working out problems also. Then it will be more clear. Okay. So we'll go for dissociation. In case of dissociation, then what will happen? Okay. Imagine if the solute undergoes dissociation when you put them in the solvent. Like for example, KCl I'll take. KCl you're going to dissolve in water. If I put KCl in water, one KCl if you're taking, they will dissociate, no? To give you what? One K plus ion and then one Cl minus ion. So initially you have taken one KCl. But when you added them into the water, how many solute particles you are going to get here? Two, no? You see the number, okay? Don't see that molecule part of it. You see how many numbers of solute you are going to get. Initially they were one. They were one as a compound. Yeah, now you are getting how many here? Two. So if you are getting 2 here, what will happen to the number of the solute particle? The number of the solute particle is, the number of solute particles is increasing. No, when they dissociate, particles is increasing. If solute particle increases, what will happen to the colligative property value? The colligative property value also will increase. Agree with me? The colligative property value will increase. If colligative property value increases, what will happen to molar mass? You see that relationship which I gave you. What will happen to the molar mass? Colligative property is inversely related to molar mass. So molar mass of that particular solute will decrease when you do the calculation. Okay. So if colligative property value increases here, number of solute particles are increasing, but then they will break down into two, no? So then that molar mass, the molar mass value what you are going to get, that will become lesser. Okay, that will decrease. So you will obtain a lower molecular mass value than compared to the KCl, because now they are in the form of K plus ion and Cl minus ion. So you are getting for half and half. Okay, half for K plus and half for Cl minus. No, like that it is. Initially you were calculating for one, but when you added them into the water, you found that they are dissociating. They are giving you two ions. Then the molar mass also should decrease, no? Because it is getting distributed between two of them. It is getting distributed between K plus and then Cl minus. Okay, so molar mass value will decrease over here. Did you follow this much for association as well as for dissociation? What happens to the molar mass you should understand. Okay, if the particle is associating, then your colligative property value decreases because numbers are becoming less. If they start making a pair compared to the original one, it will decrease. So if that decreases, since colligative property is inversely related, molar mass will increase. That you can see, if they are in the pair, automatically that two molecules molar mass you'll be able to get. Okay, and in case if they are dissociating, that one compound is breaking down. So if one compound breaks down, the number of solute particles will increase. When the number increases, your colligative property value will increase, which decreases the molar mass. Okay, so you can copy this down, which I have given here. Association, there are two things which are happening. One is association of the solute and the other one is dissociation of the solute. So you can copy this down. If there is association, it leads to decrease in the number of the molecular particles in the solution. And if there is dissociation, it increases the number of molecular particles in the solution. So in association, the higher values will be obtained for molecular mass than the normal molar mass. And in this case, in the dissociation case, lower values are obtained for molecular mass than normal value. Okay, so here association, dissociation happens. So finally, to solve this problem, because these solute particles, they undergo association and dissociation, so you can't get the exact molar mass. So there was a correction given. Okay, this Van 't Hoff factor is the one which has helped us to correct the actual colligative property formulas are there. No, that is being corrected. Okay, so that correction was given by Van 't Hoff factor to express the extent of association and dissociation which is taking place in the solute. Okay, so this factor was introduced, that I factor. So I factor can be written as the observed value of colligative property divided by the calculated value of colligative property. So whatever observed you are getting, you divide by the calculated. Suppose if your observed value and the calculated value is similar, then you will get I value as 1. Okay. then that means your colligative property formula is there. No, that will remain same. If I value is 1, it's the same thing, no, because they are not undergoing association nor they are undergoing dissociation. But if your observed value is coming out to be greater than compared to the calculated value, that means it is undergoing dissociation. If your observed value is coming out to be less, that means it is undergoing association. Okay, so that factor has to be multiplied with your colligative property value. Clear? So I factor is given like that. I is observed value of colligative property divided by calculated value of colligative property. So this is for the colligative property. But now you know you can write even in terms of molar mass. Colligative property is inversely proportional to molar mass of the solute. So if I substitute here, see if I substitute here for observed value, then it will become 1 by the molar mass of the observed one. Then I'll get divided by 1 by the molar mass of the normal one. That means the calculated one. Okay, the calculated one. This normal one, when I tell, it is calculated. Then what will happen to the I value? What I formula you will be able to get here? It will be inverse, no? You are able to see? For colligative property, when you are saying I value will be observed colligative property divided by calculated one. But when you are substituting in terms of molar mass, you know molar mass is inversely proportional to the colligative property. Okay, so if you substitute that 1 divided by observed molar mass, then 1 divided by the theoretical one. Okay, so if you convert and then write that, you will get it like this: normal molar mass divided by observed molar mass. Able to understand, no students, here this conversion what I did? So your formula will change. Okay, in terms of molar mass, the calculated ones will come up and the observed one will come down because they are inversely related due to that. Okay, and you can even calculate I value by seeing the association and dissociation of the particle. So number of particles after association or dissociation by the total number of particles before association or dissociation. So these are the three formulas we make use to calculate the I value. Okay, that correction value in case of the different solute. The electrolyte solutes are there, no? When they behave in a different way, these are the formulas you can make use. One is directly seeing the colligative property. That is your elevation in boiling point. You calculate by experiment and then you calculate by theoretical. You divide and then see. Okay. That time if your I value comes out as 1, that means it is the same one. But if you are different, that means it is the correction factor. It has to be multiplied. Similarly, here also molar mass, and then this is for association and dissociation. These are the formulas. Now take the screenshot of these formulas, which you will be using it. So I'll directly go for next one, working out the problem. See, now if I give you NaCl and if I ask you calculate the I value for this. NaCl in the solution, what happens? NaCl, if you take, NaCl will dissociate in the form of Na plus and Cl minus ion. So how many particles you'll be getting after putting them in the solution? You are getting 2 particles here. And initially how many you had? Only 1. So what will be the I value? Formula is this, no? I is equal to number of particles after association or dissociation divided by number of particles before association. Before it was 1. Okay, so down 1 it is 1. And after they have dissociated, you are getting 2 particles. So it will be 2 divided by 1. That is 2 itself. Okay, so 2 is the correction factor. We need to multiply with the colligative property formula. Understood what I am saying? No? Okay, do for the next one now. In this case, K2SO4. Potassium sulfate. If you take potassium sulfate, in this case, what will happen? This will break down to give you, 2 potassium ion because it is K2SO4. K2SO4 has 2 potassium ions. You can see here, no? 2 potassium ions and 1 sulfate ion. So it will give you how many particles here? 3, no? 2 plus 1. 2 plus 1. So 3. So I value will be the number of particles after dissociation. It is 3. So 3 divided by, before it was 1. So I value will be 3 here. Okay, so 3 will be the answer. You see the ions, the positive ions and the negative ions. So it will give you this many ions after dissociation. So I value will be 3. So you are able to see if they are dissociating, then your I value comes out to be greater than 1. Okay. If it is a non-electrolyte, your I value will be 1, if it is a non-electrolyte. But if they are undergoing dissociation, you are able to see I value comes out to be greater than 1. Okay, now we'll see in case of association what will happen. Like in this case, acetic acid molecule, two acetic acid molecules combine to give you one acetic, that dimer, one dimer will be formed here. So in that case, 2 is combining to give you 1. So if you divide by the formula and calculate, what will happen? I is equal to number of particles after association, 1, no? After association, it's 1. Divided by how many were there initially before association? There were 2. So I can write it is 1 divided by 2. So what happens to your I value? I value you are getting in fraction, that is less than 1. So if it is a association case, your I value will come lower than the 1 value. Okay, so on the whole, I can sum this up and together and tell you, if I value is equal to 1, it's a non-electrolyte. Okay, if I value is equal to 1, it's a non-electrolyte where your observed and calculated value both are equal. Okay, your observed and calculated value both are equal. If both are equal, your I value will be 1 when you divide them. But if it's a dissociation case, your I value comes out to be greater than 1. Okay, because they are dissociating, you will get more number of solute particles. So in that case, your observed value will be higher than compared to the calculated one. But if it is association, you will get a lesser value. Okay, so in that case, observed value will be lower than the calculated one. Okay, so this is all about the abnormal molar mass and then how we have corrected that by using the I factor. So you take down all this. Yes, students, now I'll go for working out few problems based on this. Like in the board, how the questions will be asked. Quickly, we'll work out that because the session may get over in few minutes. So we'll see what type of questions they ask you. And before that, we will include that correction factor in all of that colligative property. See, now this is how we correct and then we write. With I value, inclusion of that Van 't Hoff factor in your formula. So you just have to multiply with that I value. Okay, everywhere you can see, everywhere where I have that colligative property formula, it's being multiplied with that factor, I factor. Okay, because for different solutes, the way they show the answers are different in association and dissociation case. So you need to multiply this. Okay, so at the end, you can just write down this. With the inclusion of Van 't Hoff factor, the following equations can be written in this way. You just add I factor and then write it down. Okay, extra I you have to add and then write. That's it. The formulas are same, only I factor is added extra. So now, can you tell me what will be the Van 't Hoff factor for aluminium sulfate in very dilute solution? Aluminium sulfate, what will be the Van 't Hoff factor? I value for that. Aluminium sulfate formula is Al2SO4 thrice. I value will be how much? You need to calculate I value for this. Initially, aluminium sulfate is one molecule. Okay, initially it is 1. So I'll write 1 below. But if you put them into the water in aqueous solution, they will dissociate. Yes, very good. Correct. Correct. They will dissociate into how many ions? How many aluminium ions you will get? You see that. How many aluminium ion and how many sulfate ions? Yes, very good. Correct. Correct, correct. Answers are correct. So here you can see 2 aluminium ions are there. Then I'll get 2 Al3 plus ions. Plus how many sulfate ions are there? 3 sulfate, 3 SO4, 2 minus ions. So altogether if you count 2 plus 3, how many solute particles you are getting after they have dissolved in water? 5. Correct? So you use the formula I is equal to the number of particles after dissociation divided by the number of particles before dissociation. After dissociation it is 5. Divided by before dissociation it is 1. Yes, very good. Your answers are correct. Okay. 5 you have given, that answer is correct. So your Van 't Hoff factor I value is equal to 5. Followed how to calculate Van 't Hoff factor if compounds are given to you. Aluminium sulfate they have mentioned. You should know what is the formula of aluminium sulfate first. Al2SO4 thrice. When you put them into the water, they give you 2 cations and 3 anions. So altogether the number is 5. You don't count the number of sulfur and oxygen there. It is behaving as one anion. They don't dissociate there. It is behaving as one anion. So altogether it is 3. Got? Okay, now go for the next one. We'll go for the next one. Why is the osmotic pressure of 1 molar sodium chloride higher than 1 molar glucose solution? Why the osmotic pressure of 1 molar sodium chloride is higher? Osmotic pressure, when they calculated experimentally, whatever we were expecting for sodium chloride, sodium is NaCl, no? We were expecting actually 23 plus 35.5, 58.5. But when we calculated, we got it as higher than the expected one. Yeah, because NaCl dissociates in the water. Very good, correct. Because NaCl will dissociate to give you one Na plus ion and one Cl minus ion. So you can see the number of solute particles formed is higher than compared to the initial one. Here it was only 1. Now here it is 2. So obviously that colligative property value also will be higher, no? But molar mass will come down, okay? So here your answer should be, since sodium chloride dissociates in the form of ions, but glucose do not dissociate, so you are getting higher value. Okay, copy down this. Okay, next one. The experimental value for molar mass, see, experimental value for molar mass of non-volatile solute obtained on basis of colligative properties twice the theoretical value. So they are asking what is the Van't Hoff factor for the solute. This is based on molar mass. Based on molar mass. Based on molar mass, what is I formula? I is equal to, I'll write it here. You tell me what is the answer. Anyone who can tell me what will be the answer? Experimental value for molar mass of a non-volatile solute on basis of colligative properties twice than the theoretical value. Think properly and tell me. Use the formula. Formula I told you. The formula you take for colligative property and the formula you use for molar mass is opposite because they are inversely related. Yes, they are inversely related. So your answer should be half. Yeah, half is correct answer. Half is correct answer because formula is like this, no? I is equal to normal molar mass by observed. Okay, normal molar mass by observed. So they are saying experimental value of the molar mass on the basis of colligative properties twice. That means your this one, observed one, is experimental one. That is double. Then compared to the before one. So then it is 1 by 2, no? Understanding why it is 1 by 2? Observed one means experimental one is double, twice, then compared to the initial one. So it is 1 by 2. Because molar formula values are reciprocal of your colligative property values. Okay. So be careful with that formulas. Now anything which you have missed, should I go back anywhere you have not taken it, because the session will get over, I think. So this many things are enough. If you know how to calculate, that is enough. Shall I go back wherever you have not taken it down, not noted down? Should I go back? You take the screenshot, later on you can copy it down, okay? So fifth hour you'll be having computer. You won't be having chemistry class. You can log in for computer session. Yeah, if you want, I'll go back in case if you have not finished. See, this was the next question which I've given you. Before that, I had done this. Van 't Hoff factor for aluminum sulfate. Before that, it was this correction. You need to include that I factor. Then what is I? For different association, dissociation, and non-electrolyte.